everyone, welcome to another episode of It Starts With Action, and I'm so grateful today to have Gannon with me, who is a psychology graduate, super interesting, and focuses on LinkedIn marketing, social media, and all the good popular stuff
all that good
nowadays.
stuff.
Yeah. I'm really interested how you kind of went from just focusing on psychology and then social media, and then now you focus on LinkedIn, which is a number one platform for me. So I'm really interested to learn more about how you became interested in your story, and also psychology, about how people behave and what keeps them back and stuff, all that good stuff. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. So I have, with hindsight, the power of hindsight, I have a nice little bridge from my psychology degree into marketing, which is essentially psychology is about understanding people and marketing is all about understanding people. I didn't know that when I was at uni. Everybody wanted to go into clinical psychology. Everyone wanted to be a psychologist. I purely chose psychology because it's just the most interesting subject I was doing, just like you said, after you just done it for your A-level. Really interesting topics, really interesting learning about social psychology, behavioural economics. So I just kind of followed. It was either doing psychology as a degree or doing economics. And I couldn't imagine going to an economics lecture at 9 a.m. Couldn't really picture that happening. So I went with psychology, didn't meet all my 9 a.m.s, but still kind of first step towards kind of doing things you enjoy. So yeah, with hindsight, that's how I kind of bridged it. So if anyone's going to university, it is kind of about what you're doing outside of your degree, but psychology is a really well-rounded degree. So you do lots of essays, which is obviously writing skills. You got statistics, which is math skills, and then it's actually a science. Some call it a social science, but for me, at the university I went to, was actually a science. So that's how I've kind of bridged myself into psychology and into marketing. And then my first job outside university, after university, was at Cambridge University in the social media team, just as an assistant. And yeah, that's how I kind of went into social media. I've always, obviously growing up digital native, always used social media. I've always been interested in noticing how my friends and what platforms we're starting to use. For example, each year seems to be using a different platform to wish my friends happy birthday. You know, it used to be Facebook, now it's Instagram stories. Just really interested in the new features that I was seeing on social media, the new platforms that are rising, and also just kind of following creators and influencers and seeing how every time there's a new platform, there's just a new wave of talent and creators who seem to just make something for themselves. And that has kind of led me into when I started first creating content on LinkedIn, realized the opportunity. I was kind of ready for it. I was ready for this next platform, which if it kind of matched my interest of personal development, trying to improve myself. At the time I was trying to get a job and look at new jobs. LinkedIn kind of seemed a perfect match. That's how I kind of started creating content myself. And that's kind of led to the LinkedIn marketing stuff. So social media strategy, being interested in that, seeing if I could get into that space as a career, and then kind of transitioning to content marketing.
And how has it been so far?
It's been good. Lots of ups and downs.
What kind of challenges did you face during?
Yeah, so challenges. Let's talk about content marketing. Let's not talk about career.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about my career. Very baby experience in marketing, but content marketing, putting yourself out there, is something I'm very passionate about, because obviously right now you've got a podcast. I'm sure this was in the works for maybe a couple of weeks, months before you got around to the first one. And I'm really
actually, it was probably a day.
A day? Wow, you just jumped straight into it.
Yeah, I think. I jumped straight into it, but I was really scared when I was doing it. I had to have some friends, because I started off doing the first episode with my friend, and that was more fun, and then just put it out there. Yeah, I'm still learning, so there's so many mistakes happened along the way. And, still learning. So
that's
sorry
amazing.
if there's any technical difficulties that come along, because there was a few times. So yeah, but
let me know as well if my audio drops out, because this mic keeps dropping out on other times to talk to people, so just let me know.
I need to get a mic. Actually, I don't even have a mic, so I should have prepared that. But yeah,
this one's out of you. But that's amazing that you've got that as a skill, because so many people struggle to start and they just put things off, and that was exactly me. So my own experience was realizing, working for my full-time role in social media, using all the platforms, how we can strategize, how we can create a content plan, how we can get people's attention. So at Cambridge University, that was how we can actually be more diverse and actually create content that isn't just reaching white rich people, which was the kind of stereotype, still is. And then I was kind of doing a side hustle of creating content and social media strategy as well. I was doing all this work and I was like realizing, well, I'm not actually putting myself out there. And for me, where I completely differ to you is for about a year or two on LinkedIn, I realized the opportunity. I realized this is a great platform. They just brought out video and I just couldn't bring myself to post. And I was engaging with the people, dipping my toes in it, but I just couldn't build up that confidence. I'm really passionate now that
I just want to say I did like start the podcast a day, but it took me like a lot, like, so many years of being super shy to get out there. So, like, I'm not someone who like immediately just like jumps into someone. I was so scared for a long time before I decided to. Yeah, so okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, and as you know now, you'd be so glad you started because there was things you couldn't even imagine, which are problems. So for me, like the first video I did on LinkedIn was, you couldn't really get more method than this. I did a video about wanting to do video. So people go, oh, I need ideas to start. I need to have this bank of ideas and stuff to talk about. I literally spoke about, this is my first video. I'm like scared doing this. I've wanted to do this for like a year. And because of that approach, people just like rallied around, people supported it. And I was like, right, okay. And then I saw like the engagement, I saw like the views that came in on, because of how good LinkedIn is right now, and just gave me so much confidence to continue that. And now I don't think twice about it. And I think getting over that fear, and now whenever I really want to do something, I try and remember these like case studies for myself of like, if I could go back in time, I would just completely miss that, you know, the worry, the fear, the U-turns. And yeah, I just think motivation is, you might get an idea, and so I wrote like an article recently called like inspiration is short-lived, which essentially just means like, if you get an idea, you get that energy, you're really excited to go, and then next day you wake up, you're just like, nah.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. You think of every reason why not to do it. So the more you can kind of just act on the ideas you get, the more you can push yourself. And I do think over time, like you're saying, you know, now you'll say, oh, I was scared about starting a podcast, but now look at me, I'm doing it more and more. So the next idea, hopefully you can just reduce that time.
So you said that you were anxious for like a year before you posted. So what happened when you decided, like, did you just like, oh, I'm not going to wait anymore, I'm just going to post it? Or like, how did you end up doing it?
I think I got so annoyed with myself to the point where, and I wouldn't recommend that as an approach, but I got so frustrated with myself. I think I started to see other people doing stuff. I was like, I know I can put, you know, I know I can turn a camera on, like, and it hasn't got to be putting yourself on video. If it's expressing your opinions in articles and stuff, and you could be a writer, you could love writing, you just haven't done a blog, which you've wanted to start. But for me, it was kind of like, I enjoy chatting to people. I could be very introverted, but at times I could be very extroverted. And I think on camera, I was seeing people showing their personality, and I thought, no one knows who I am. And if I can just jump behind a camera and even talk about the struggles of doing that, that might go far. So yeah, I think I annoyed myself to the point where it had to happen. And I don't want to bank on that as my approach for doing things. And then the first video was about 20 takes. It was on my lunch break when I was at Cambridge Uni, just working. Walked to this like little garden areas, and whenever I heard like a rustle, I stopped because I thought someone was watching. I recorded it like 20 times, and it was just a 20-second video saying this is a video, basically. But once that was done, I felt like once I've done a video, everything else seemed easier. So writing a text bit of content, like, that's fine. And I just built myself up and confidence over time, and it's been really great to kind of chat to people and share that story and try and help anyone. Because if you see someone's eyes light up, if you see someone's passionate about something, you have to help them, because like the second they're allowed to think all of these thoughts or this mental chit chat comes in place, and they just won't do it.
Yeah, but for me, I think I can film videos at home or when outside when there's no one, but I struggle a lot with like filming either Instagram stories or anything when there's people like in town or something. That's one thing that I'm kind of really scared of.
It's like you see YouTubers, like fitness YouTubers, they go like to Aldi or Lidl and they're like talking about what they're buying. It's like, wow, that's another level of stuff. But
and like go to the gym and just film themselves like doing stuff. It's like, oh, that's brave. I couldn't do that.
Nah, we don't all have to do that. One thing I did find a lot easier was like just having a chat. So like this, I found I was a lot more relaxed. And the second I kind of set up a camera, trying to just talk directly to the camera, which didn't feel natural. So any advice to people wanting to start is if you could just set your phone up on a tripod or just angle it with some books and just have a chat with your friend and record that. It could be a podcast or audio, or it's video content, which is actually more watchable. And I think I'm more watchable when it's conversational. I've started posting videos on YouTube and I can't stand them because it's just me sitting upright in a chair trying to talk all proper. And yeah.
Before with like basically my story is that I was super like introverted. I wouldn't say anything, but I really didn't like that. I wanted to change and I didn't know how. And so I started YouTube. That was the first, like, beginning of lockdown. I started YouTube, and that was the scariest thing ever. Just like talk to the camera, like, because I could not talk to people. So I started with talking to the camera, just to myself, and then putting it out there and see what happens. And then I met some friends, and then slowly, like, I started talking to one person and then another person, and then now actually, and then meeting people who do podcasts and realizing, that actually might be my thing. And then I started it, and now we're like 30-ish episodes in, and I am loving it. And just found it. Yeah. Is there anything now that you are kind of want to do but like not taking action on? Like, would you say that you are so much better at like doing what scares you after the experience?
I think I definitely still have to remind myself as like a case study, like I said, like I think we all need to like have time in our week we just sit and like think about things. Like, I don't think people just don't do it. Like, I've tried journaling and it has worked to an extent, but each week I do try and just like review and just think about stuff I want to work on. And I'm really big on at the moment just trying to focus on high leverage tasks, so things that are going to move the needle. So if you don't outline each week, 3 activities, even just one thing, which if you just did it, it'd be a great week. Like, what's the thing which is on your mind? And a great book, which is a productivity book called Getting Things Done by David Allen, he talks about that, how kind of thoughts which you've not addressed are still kind of weighing you down. And I think that's so true, because you could have a different example, because you were incredible at starting your podcast early. But if I wanted to start a podcast and I was thinking about it for 2 to 3 months, and I chatted to someone, I thought, that could have been a guest, or I could have. These are thoughts weighing on your mind. Like, we only have limited like energy. So each week I try and just say to myself, what's that one thing which would just make this a great week if I could just move the needle? So like big tasks, still like figuring it out. One thing I haven't been able to do yet is more YouTube. Like, I'm posting on YouTube just like once a week, but my goal was to be like the most consistent person on YouTube talking about LinkedIn, and just like to own the niche of LinkedIn, because it's a bit of a gap right now. Not everyone knows that it's a content platform and the benefits. So that was my goal. I've been doing 1 video a week, but I think I could increase that, and I'm looking at how to do that. I'm going to buy a camera just to reduce the friction. That's one thing as well. My last job, I worked at a video production company, and in our office we had a camera and it never moved. It's on a tripod. We sorted everything out. We spent that time up front, and that camera never moved. And all you would have to do, you have an idea, you go down, you sit down, press play. Wow, like incredible. And I need that now, because reducing the friction, like right now, there's just too much friction for me to just go and create a video or expand on an idea. So then you just have to look at what you want to do and how you can make it easier for yourself, and perhaps talk to people who've done it already, and you'll definitely get ideas from there.
Yeah, that is a good idea. Like, maybe you're thinking of, you want to film a video, but you're afraid. Like, maybe don't think about filming the video. Just think about setting the videos, like the stuff up, and then do it and not overthink it. How, like, did you learn anything related to like just how people behave, and like, why we do stupid things?
Yeah, the fact that I did a psychology degree makes me laugh, because I wasn't really that academic. Like, historically I've got good grades, but I think loads of people enjoy psychology and psychology topics. We're just naturally interested in it. You definitely don't need a degree to talk about it, which is one thing I'm also quite want to kind of make clear, because whilst I like talking about the fact I had a psychology degree and stuff, equally I don't want people to think you have to have a degree to talk about it. But my favorite sort of topics at uni were things like social psychology. It was how we act in groups, why we kind of behave in the way we do. And that's how I've kind of bridged psychology and marketing, because and the content I create on LinkedIn is about essentially both of them, where it was at the start. So I outlined my content themes. It was psychology topics, and then it was psychology topics, social media. Got a little box here. And then, so whenever there's a topic about psychology, I'd create content about it. When there's social media, I would. And then when they linked, that was my niche. So psychology times social media. And my like tagline I kind of came up with was like, business and brands are interested in how people behave online. So the behave bit is psychology. How do people engage? Do they swipe? Do they use the story features? How much attention? How long do they watch videos for? What's their watch time? That's all of interest to business and brands. So that's the psychology part. And then the online is the social media part. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. So that's kind of how I've bridged psychology and marketing, and how I kind of think about the content I create. But in terms of the stuff I found interesting about psychology was behavioural economics. So my dissertation, which was a first class dissertation, get in.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Honestly, my first essay at uni, I plagiarized by accident. It was by accident. I won't go into that. But yeah, it did not come natural at all. But when I came across a topic that I enjoyed, which was behavioural economics, I just thought it was fascinating. Learning about nudge theory, how you can just do subtle things to really just promote people's behaviour, really cost-effective ways. Like, for example, if you've just got high street and you just paint on the floor arrows towards a bin, people will just put more litter in the bin. Like, such simple things. But that, if we just take that as like a principle for any business, any marketing organization, if you need a cost-effective way to alter people's behavior, like, think about these things. Think about how people behave. How can you subtly introduce things which promote their behaviors?
It's really interesting, but also at the same time, kind of like creepy. Like, we feel like we have control in what we do, but then we subconsciously let these like little nudges kind of like make our decisions when we think we're doing, like, we're making that decision, but actually, like, there are people who kind of plan a little bit around, like, you know, your environment and like make you like go somewhere. Like, I'm really just like supermarkets and just like menu designs and how they put the prices and stuff. That's like cheeky, but okay.
Yeah, pricing is definitely a big one. Obviously, like the most common example is like 99p. Like, it's completely inconvenient to have to buy something and get a penny back, but like sales are so much more because of that. And there's so many examples, like healthy food at tills, or like unhealthy food at tills, like quick, like chocolates and sweets and stuff, like for people to buy. I think that actually got banned in the UK, and some supermarkets aren't allowed. Yeah, some supermarkets just do like healthy food now, because like you said, it's kind of manipulating people's behavior, and they want people to do that in a way that promotes good things. Like, if people are going to grab a snack at the tills, it should be apples, and like snacks it should be just chocolate. But yeah, those sort of stuff are just so interesting in psychology. And then group behavior as well, and learning about like tribes, and that kind of all ties into marketing, about finding a tribe, working communities, how we are social animals, how we do crave, that sort of stuff. So many interesting aspects.
So what kind of stuff do you do about it then? Like, I'm just curious in terms of, like, do you tell businesses about people's behavior and then they just like, that's a bad question.
So for me, like the way I kind of turn this into work is, I'm interested in social media strategy. So I'm interested in being ahead of the game and ahead of the curve of what social media platforms, the new features they're bringing out, and then how that can lead to different content, lead to different results. So for example, on LinkedIn, like, I love looking at like the space you have in a profile. Like, if someone lands on your profile, you have a headline, you have a photo, you have a cover photo, about section. Like, this is essentially like just space which you can just manipulate. You've got, like, for example, they've just brought out the name pronunciation feature. So straight away, that's a clickable button where you can tell someone anything. Obviously, you should do it just for your name, but I just thought I'd promote my YouTube channel instead.
That's like that. That's an out of the box idea. Interesting. I saw it, but I'm just too lazy to like add stuff to it. But yeah, pronounce your name and then like just say something extra.
It's just things like that, and just getting creative with it. So for example, when I launched like a YouTube channel or whatever, you're launching a blog or a newsletter, like, I realized that if you change your job position on LinkedIn, it will ping a notification to like your whole network. So I just literally wrote, I've launched a YouTube channel, and then it was like at, so like you should say job title at company. It was like, I've launched a channel at YouTube. And then I just like asked everyone to subscribe, and then everyone in my whole network gets a notification. Just things like that. I just love things like that. And they're just quick. It's just nudges, and it's just tips and tricks. So I like creating content about that, just showing things like that and how people can use them as a benefit. And then in terms of work, so I'm doing like content marketing. So I help people manage their LinkedIn profiles, help them create content, think about strategy. I know from my own experience, I've done like every mistake in the book. So I've really got a strategy now which is streamlined and works for me, can really just help you to kind of produce like quantities of content which is needed nowadays, obviously, because there's so much noise. Breaking down the process, basically just capturing your ideas when you get them in a place that you trust, and then not trying to do every stage of creating content at once, just breaking down the different steps and almost doing them when you feel like it, which most people kind of sit there and go, oh, I really need to write an article today, and it's just not happening, and it'll be 4 hours later, and just like don't do that then. Just like have an hour where you tweak your post, you optimize it, and you add the hashtags, you think about the strategy, or a brainstorming session, and just do things when you kind of feel in the mood for them.
Yeah, I think lots of like about like bringing the topic back to like action, like procrastination, and just making stuff harder for us to do just stops us, and just we never get anywhere. So yeah, I think everyone who doesn't really know much about behavioral economics and stuff, maybe check it out, or like check some like, do you have any like psychology tips on like making people, like other than nudges, are there any other tips that kind of trick your brain into doing stuff?
Oh, good question. I have one. It's not a trick, obviously, but I have one. I'm very passionate when people just literally think about what they want to do, like what excites them. Because people always say like motivation is a problem, but there are things you don't need motivation to do. So why don't you start doing those sort of things instead? You know, you're already making it harder for yourself by saying that you want to do something which you're not naturally motivated to do, and then you're surprised that you're not getting results. Yeah. So,
so what excites you at the moment then?
Good question. So I naturally just like creating content. So having a chat with you now, I just get a lot of energy from it. So if I was going to look at, so if I was going to look at what I do each week, I would say do more collaborations, do more chats with presence.
Yep. Open to that. I love chats.
Like this gives me energy, and you don't have to necessarily. I'm still torn between whether you need to be getting energy from your work. I mean, personally, obviously, your working life is a large part of your life. So I'm very kind of stubborn that I want to enjoy what I do.
Same.
But equally, if your job position, if your full-time role, your job, you are getting valuable skills from it, then you can find happiness elsewhere to at least make your week overall better. So what hobbies have you stopped which you love doing, for example? So I just think people don't review, like a big thing for me, like I don't want to be over generalizing, but a big thing for me was just kind of taking time each week to review things. Like, are things going well? Okay, why are they going well? And just asking more questions. And I guess it ties into psychology, because it's just it's starting to understand yourself. Like, you are in charge of your actions, and you know you need to take responsibility and ownership if you're having a good week or a bad week. And just simple stuff like just write down what's a dream day, like what would an ideal day look for you. And that could be, had a really productive 2 hours in the morning, I wrote a bit about my blog, which is my personal project, got my kind of tasks done in an efficient fashion, went for a walk at lunchtime, then I met up with my friends in the evening. Like, if that's a great day for you, then just dissect it, because we all forget that like our thoughts are all different. Like, we forget the things that you feel excited to do on a weekend are completely different to mine. So you need to just like be aware of what actually excites you and do more of it. It's not just you're thinking what everyone else is thinking.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, what excites you, you naturally, you will have the motivation to do it. Like I call it the X factor. Like you get to, I don't know why, but like you get to, like you keep asking yourself, like, you want to do, like, okay, you want to like, but I feel like when people like have this goal, you have to kind of like keep asking yourself, why do you want to do it? Why? And then get to the point where you realize that it's going to make you like the excitement point, and you get like super hyped up about it. And that's kind of the trigger point for me where I'm so excited about this, and then I'm going to take action on it. Other than just like saying what you're going to do and then like putting it on paper, expand on it and really get the feeling, like what it's like to like get that done. And then
completely, like, I think that's such a great point of imagine the outcome. Like, because a lot of things, obviously, so much things, to get a result in something, to actually achieve something, it's going to take a lot of work, and we can be put off by the work. But if you instead feel really excited, like you said, you're imagining yourself this new person. You've got a blog and everyone's talking about it on the street, or you've just got a text from your friend and they said they just read it. Like, imagine it, feel that excitement, because that will stand a lot more. Because then when it's whether, you know, motivation, I wouldn't. It's just a fleeting feeling. Like, one of my favorite articles by Ali Abdul. I don't know if you follow Ali.
The Dr. Cambridge guy.
Yes.
Yep.
Cambridge doctor. What a man.
Cambridge entrepreneur, like does everything. Super productive. I don't know how he does what he does, but yeah, inspiring guy.
Inspiring guy. It's crazy. So he did an article called "Motivation is a Myth," and one of the main takeaways from that.
Action first, was it, or something? I don't know. I know, maybe not.
Yeah, it might have been action first. Motivation is a myth. Essentially, motivation is a feeling, and we all have that. Like, it comes and goes, and that's the most important thing. So if you have something that excites you, like you said, write it down, but also just go that extra step, like get excited about it. And I've started doing, if I have an idea, I want to create some like objective scales. So I want to take away the subjectivity of feeling excited and just having this like fleeting feeling. I want to have scales which I kind of like trust the Joe of old. I like trust what he says. So like, how is this going to have an impact on my life? Like, well, Joe said like a month ago that was like 9 out of 10. So I want to like have these objective scales which I just go, I don't know whether you add these numbers up or however it works. It could be just really simple. It's not going to be some algorithm, but like at this point, it's a no-brainer. You just have to do it regardless of how you feel. Like these are your this is your factors which you've outlined, and just do it. Also, obviously, this podcast called "It Starts with Action." One thing that's just been huge for me is accountability. I've really internalized that and realized that, and literally as of this week, I each week now talk with my old boss. We're both really interested in personal projects. He just launched a YouTube channel. I'm obviously trying to grow mine. Each Monday, we are going to just check in with each other and list essentially like the 3 things we want to achieve that week. We both want the best for each other. And it's just essentially knowing it gets to Friday, you know that you've got to tell that person. Yeah. And if that works for you, if you're someone who that would work for, whether it's pressure or good pressure, just incorporate more accountability into your life. Like it doesn't have to be giving your friend like 20 quid if you don't do the task. But if that would make it work for you, why not do it? There's another productivity YouTuber, I'm going through them all now, called Thomas Frank, and what he did.
I think the American guy. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, he's cool. So I think it was to get up at a certain time each morning. Could be wrong, but he used Buffer, so the social media scheduling app, and he, instead of just like relying himself to get up at a certain time of his alarm clock, he like set a tweet to go out at like 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I can't remember what it said. It was either saying like I'm an idiot or something like that, or like I've missed my alarm, and he schedules it on Buffer, right? So say he gets up, his alarm goes off at 6:50 a.m. Like he has to get up, and his laptop's in the other room, so he has to like
delete it or something.
Yeah, has to delete it. I thought that was incredible.
So yeah, that's like, I've never heard of that before. That's actually that's a good idea, but at the same time, if it's like it'll be funny, but if it goes out, then.
I'm not sure how many times you failed, but then it's that public accountability. But I think he said for him, it got to the point where it worked, and then it got to the point where he actually stopped. Like it started to affect his sleep because he was like worrying about it. So obviously,
yeah,
test things. But accountability, like whether it's just checking in with a friend, I've said to people on LinkedIn like forever, if people need an accountability, reach out to me, because I will more than happy check in. If you tell me I want to start a YouTube channel tomorrow, I want to start a blog, Joe, on Thursday, just send me a message and just tell me to check in. I will 100% do it. Like if you want me to do that for you, I'll do it. Anyone listening, I'm here. I know it works. It just works.
I need accountability to us. Like I've kind of, since starting the podcast, I've really neglected YouTube. Like I used to post like other content, but then now I post like podcast content, but at the same time I feel like maybe I should also post other stuff. But I don't know, just time. But then you could post little snippets of it, for example, like 5-minute snippets, 10-minute snippets. That's what everyone seems to do. Yeah, that is a good thing. I feel like one other thing I was like, because I follow Thomas Frank on Instagram, and I feel like now talking about accountability kind of reminds me, he's doing that to help him. Like he basically every day he makes like an Instagram story on him like working out, and it's like fitness watch. So maybe that's something that he's doing to like keep himself accountable, and just like putting it on his like Instagram story. So maybe like as simple as like everyone has Instagram, so you could just plan what you're going to do, or make a closed story or something, just to like post it, and kind of like if you don't have anyone to help you with accountability.
100%. Like you could just get a streak going for yourself, and there's loads of different like streak apps you can get. Like there's so many different ones. Like there's a productivity app on a Google Chrome extension called Forest, where that's when more like you're working on something. Yeah, and it plants trees, and a tree dies. Like
I don't know. I'm so bad at that. Like I used that for 2 years for like revision, but I always like I don't care if the tree dies, which is so bad. Like my whole forest is full of like dead trees and stuff. So oh well.
But that's the thing. So you tried, and then you need to go, okay, this form of accountability didn't work for me, but maybe having a friend send you a text, whatever, like it has to, there's going to be like a form of accountability which will work for everyone. And it's just like not kidding. Like you could kick yourself, go, I'm so pathetic. Like I couldn't use Forest. no, like it just wasn't for you. Like you've done all these great things, you've started on all these great projects, it just wasn't the form of accountability for you. But for me, just telling people what I'm doing, I got to the point where I was just fed up of being like the person who's saying like, I want to do this, and I was just all talk. And like
Same.
it's quite clear that I just get annoyed with myself until I do something, which I don't know if is a good thing. But yeah, I think I wanted to be more of an action person. And that brings on to the fact that 2018 was my year of action. I called it my year of action. And that was after, towards the end of 2017, creating my first bit of content. And I was like, this has gone well. I feared this for such a long period of time. Like those thoughts were just like self-sabotage, which is one of my favorite like areas of psychology. I don't think it's an area of psychology, but just very simply, we hold ourselves back. I just realized that. And I was like, in 2018, if I could just have a bias for action, if I could just like idea comes into your head, bam, try it, life would be so much better. Because every successful person which you watch, a creator, influencer, film star, anyone, family member who you look up to, anyone, it's the action which like inspires you, and you can inspire other people. From you doing this podcast, anyone listening can go, wow, like she's so extrovert, she's so confident, she's like must have been born into a family of like TV hosts, right?
Way off the thing.
And then yeah,
I feel like kind of like actually, like to be honest, I feel like because I'm a massive dreamer, I'm also like I have all these ideas but I don't really take action on it. And I found that since starting the podcast, like the name It Starts With Action is literally on my mind every hour. I put this podcast out there, so that must mean I have to like kind of practice what I preach and stuff. So like I have no like in like when no one's watching, I still like kind of that just like sticks to me. Like I have to do what I said I was going to do, because if I don't, then like I don't deserve to do this podcast. So that's like, yeah, this is a long-term accountability part, I guess.
That's so good. Like, was that deliberate, or was that just kind of been an effect?
That's been the effect. It was not deliberate.
I think people should when you look at what people are doing, don't just look at what they're saying, but look at what they're doing. Like for you, like you've started something, and once you kind of hear your story behind it, it's so inspiring. You've literally just like gone, what don't I feel good at? And you've just gone, I'm going to do that 100 like times. Yeah. And yeah, I think when I was at uni, I want to say I created a podcast. I didn't necessarily. I interviewed like 2 people, and then I interviewed the careers team, and essentially I went to like the Entrepreneur Society, and I made myself a position on the committee. I went to them and said, like, you've got an audience of 2,000 people, you should have a podcast. So I kind of had a podcast, but I didn't actually do many episodes. I didn't really have a podcast, but it's the same thing. Like I was
good experience, I guess. Like you have to talk to people.
Exactly. So I was trying to prepare myself to get a job after uni. So I was like surrounding myself with the careers team, and by having that initial thought, I essentially like you're saying, it's kind of more of the effect. Like I didn't think, oh, here's a great plan. But what I ended up doing is I wanted to get around the careers team, and I ended up doing like a 5-part series where I interviewed the careers team, and I knew them all by like first names, and I like got so much knowledge from that because of the podcast. The podcast was the vehicle. And I think that's what people need to understand. Like it's a podcast, a blog, a YouTube channel. It's just a vehicle for like opportunities. And that was the same thing. Like I just thought like I listened to podcasts in the evenings on my drive to work, for example, like back then. And I love chatting to people, but I didn't have interview skills. So I just thought, I'm going to call myself a podcast host, because if you want to get interview experience, why don't you just create something so you can be the host instead of waiting to get experience or qualifications to be invited to be a host?
Yeah. I wasn't really, like, I didn't think of failing the podcast. Like, I feel like one reason people don't do what they do is because they like feel failure. And I feel like maybe one way to kind of overcome the fear of failure is to focus on what you're going to gain out of what you want to do. Like for me, I know that I'm going to learn how to not be so introverted, anxious, and like socially awkward, and I would get to be more like talkative, and it would help build a personal brand, because I'm also interested in like business and starting my own business. And you know, if I want to do that, eventually I do just have to put myself out there. It's not, I don't really want to put myself out there, but I want to learn how to communicate. I want to build a business, and I want to like gain the I want to create a community. And the only way I do that is to like put myself out there and do what scares me. Like that doesn't really relate to failure, but like you get like, yeah. So not focusing on the scary parts, but focusing on what you're going to get out of that scary thing to motivate.
Completely. And then you look back and you realize like it was all just made up scary parts anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think to this day I've had anyone message me saying, "Oh, Joe, like, why are you putting yourself out there? Why? Like, who do you think you are?" Like, that's the thing I thought people would say. Like, who do you think you are? Like, go back to your cave, whatever, wherever they think I live. But it's never happened. If anything, it's people like I thought I had friends who would potentially take the mick. They haven't. Obviously, like, you get people who will just joke and it's a conversation piece. Like, "Oh, you're going to pull out your phone and do a LinkedIn video?" I'm like, no. But they'll support, and like we said before, like by you doing this podcast, you being the podcast host, you are going to inspire someone else. You are going to make it feel easier. And like, what great thing can you do just but to like lead by action is so hard for all of us to do. So what better thing to do than identify how you can act and then inspire people to do so. And like you said, frame it as a win-win. So for you setting this up, like Tim Ferriss, who I absolutely love,
4-hour work week.
Yes. So he's got one of the best podcasts. He's got like 400, 500 episodes. He's such a great person to listen to because he just interviews the most amazing people, and you can just be introduced by so many people. So he's like a curator. I see him as a curator. He brings all this interesting knowledge together, and if he's like the funnels, you just follow him and you just get access to all of this stuff. And he did that. I think he went on, I could be wrong, but I think he went on like Joe Rogan's podcast. He loved it, and then he thought like, I might try this. I'm going to do 5 episodes and just see how it goes. Like, at the very least, I've got content out of it. I can't remember how he framed it, but he said like, frame it as a win-win. There was like, if he has better interview skills after 5 episodes, then that was a win. And like you said, it's just focus on those sort of outcomes. YouTube as well. Like, I think people, like, if we step out from what content creation is, it's building up your confidence. Like, sitting behind a camera is confidence. And it's self-awareness, it's self-doubt, and that's like you said, that's what I take from it. Those are the skills, those are the behaviors you're showing, and they're obviously applicable to so many areas of life. So sitting in a room, recording yourself, getting over self-consciousness can then help you in another form of life which you don't even realize. So there's so many wins. So I really would echo what you said. It's just like, write down the outcomes, the skills, the behaviors. Think about the things you perhaps wouldn't realize at surface level, and just frame it as a win-win. And then you would, like you said, probably start to feel it, and you start to feel really excited. Like, this is a no-brainer. Like, I'm an idiot if I don't do this. And that's usually when you'll start to try something.
And like, just imagine what you can, what's happening to my voice? Sorry. Just imagine what you can do if you don't have as much self-doubt. You're more confident. Like, you just, like, you're okay with, well, it's like putting yourself out there, just like, you can like, and like, not fear of like what people think of you, because when you put yourself out there, it's likely that when someone's gonna, play the YouTube video and then pause it in a very ugly way, and so like if you can overcome all of that, then you can do so many other things that you could, like, you wouldn't think you could. Like, there's so many benefits of just putting yourself out there and creating content on like anything, like blog, YouTube, Instagram, even like Instagram stories. Just like, all of that helps you develop these basic, like, overcome these basic fears that then help you go out and do other crazy stuff that you want to do, I feel. Exactly.
You start to back yourself. You start to seeing positives. And Instagram stories is a thought just crossed my mind. One of my friends who does public speaking, I said to him, I want to get better on camera. I want to improve that sort of stuff. I don't feel confident doing it at all. And he said, like, open up Instagram and do a story, because when have you ever in previous generations been allowed to press record and 200 people can see it? And he sent me a challenge. My friend Jordan Harry, he just said, once a week, next week, just do an Instagram story. And yeah, I felt more confident instantly. Like, I felt really nervous to do it because it's to kind of like friends and family, which is kind of outside comfort zone, because I've kind of, by creating stuff, you kind of pull in the people like-minded. So
yeah,
they could be like, we don't know each other, we haven't met before, but like, wow, she's great, she's really cool, like, I've got a new friend. So when it's family and friends, it's something that's actually more daunting, because it's like, you think you might get those negative comments, and no one did. Like, I actually walked down like a bridge into my town. I tried to actually do it around people as well, and that was a great experience. You just realize nothing really bad happens. And that leads into things like comfort challenges. So have you come across Noah Kagan? Have you heard of him?
No.
So he's an entrepreneur, and him and Tim Ferriss have a couple of things called comfort challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the comfort challenges, which this guy called Noah Kagan has, he owns a company called AppSumo. He says the next time you go and buy a drink somewhere, just ask for 10% off.
Oh, I think I heard of that. Like, yeah, like kind of, or like something for free as well, or something like.
Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah.
Just that you think, oh my God, that scares me. That actually makes me feel sick, like having to do that.
Yeah.
But once you do something like that, it's like a thermometer. Like you've gone in the deep end, you've done something that's really hard, really outside your comfort zone. So next time you have to like do something small, like stay behind after a lecture and ask a question to someone, or put your hand up in class, or whatever. Those things seem so small.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy how scared I was to like just put my hand up. It's like a massive thing to like, oh, like gosh, this is the hardest thing. But yeah,
it's so true. Like it's crazy that that's our default. We all feel so scared about it, and that's the part of psychology I really want to learn more about. And it is self-sabotage, holding yourself back. And an amazing book. Which, have you read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield?
Nope, but I've heard of it.
Okay, you need to read that because of your podcast name. It's incredible. It's all about how we hold ourselves back. It's about like overcoming obstacles that we put in front of ourselves, and it's incredible. I've never felt like so strongly about a book before because of how it's just written like so nicely about how we hold ourselves back and how it's like an internal battle. But just accept it's a part of being human. Accept you're going to have ideas and then not act on them. Accept that action can take time, but as soon as you accept it and just understand that's normal, it actually helps you to start actually getting momentum and start to get things in motion.
Interesting. That does sound a good book. Okay, I need to check that out.
You need to buy it. Like, I will get on your back if you don't buy it.
Okay. Good accountability.
Or download a free copy, whatever you choose.
I'll check it. One question that I normally ask my guests is like, what does their next best self look like, and how do they plan to take action to get there? A good self-reflection.
Wow, what a question. Next best self. So where do I think okay.
What does your next best self look like in terms of?
Okay. So I've always had a similar goal like you have about starting a business. And I've kind of stumbled into it now. I feel like it's about to happen. And I'm going to start I know I need to write about it. And if you looked at my phone notes for the last 5 years, I'm going to just bring up these screenshots in the future, because you can just see the thought process. And I was holding myself back for so long. Arguably, I probably wasn't ready for it, but now I feel like I am. So next best self is probably acted on everything he's thought about for the last 5 years, which is essentially just realizing a lifestyle that you can have for yourself. Realize you can do a job on your it's not about necessarily having my name on something, but it's just when I read productivity books and stuff, I just realize that there are better ways of doing things, and I don't want to have to wait. My thing has always been, it's not against authority, but it's I don't want to have to wait permission for someone to do my work in a certain way, which is actually going to get more output in less time. I don't have to ask permission for that, because then they'll just give me the same pay and give me more work. Obviously they would that's just the world we're in, right? So, but you can actually do the same amount of tasks in different ways, and essentially having a business, you can have creative control, which is what I've always craved. So in answer to the question, it's probably just, I've only done baby steps right now, but it's continuing this path of just doing things that fulfill me and excite me in my week, and having work integrated with that. Always be learning, always have time in the week to reach out to people who I think are out of reach and who I can learn from and be around. That's been a huge area of growth, and I hope that will continue. So I think my next best future self is a guy who's acting twice or 3 times as quicker as I am now, which ties into the podcast perfectly.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, productivity really is everyone has 24 hours, and it's kind of crazy how different outcomes people get at the same time. And I would say my productivity level has a lot of space to improve, and I just haven't been bothered to read productivity books, but now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should, because it's probably worth it. But yeah.
I'll
What's
just surround yourself with people who you look up to and who are doing a lot of stuff, and just reach out to them. Like, oh my God, how have you done this? How have you started this? The answers are there. Just reach out to people. People are not as out of reach as we think. And understand yourself. The biggest thing for me in terms of productivity is understanding myself, understanding that I have a clearer head in the mornings, understand my best days are when I get up a bit earlier. I thought that throughout the whole time at university, but I didn't have a reason to get up, which is the problem. Because it was like, oh, I'd love to get up tomorrow early. I didn't have a reason to, so why would I? And unless you create a schedule for yourself, create a reason, like accountability. I'm meeting my friend at the gym at 8 a.m. I don't know, I have to buy him a crate of beer at the end of the week if I don't do it. Oh, okay, I'm suddenly here at 7:30, so I've won. Like, what works for you? And just understanding yourself and understanding that. And when things are on your terms, whether it's a business, a project, or anything, you can just make it work for you, and you'll just be so much more happier. Like, you just lean into the things you're intrinsically wanting to do. If that podcast has been on your mind for years, if that blog has been on your mind for weeks, if that idea, that business idea is just itching at you every time you close your eyes, maybe you should do it. And that's what that book is about, War of Art. He kind of says whenever you're in, like, your mental chatter gets louder, that's when you should listen to it the most. And I just love that. It's so true.
Yeah, like sometimes we have that idea for ages and we just don't act on it. And so everyone listening, it's time. But yeah,
It's time.
I don't know if that was the challenge, but normally I ask my guests at the end of the episode what challenge they have for listeners to take action on. I don't know if I just said that, but like, if like for you, it could be anything, like literally anything.
Okay. What is a challenge I challenge people? Okay, I would say to people, write down, get a pen and paper right now. We'll give you 10 seconds to do that.
Okay, 10 seconds.
Think about what's one thing in the last 1 to 2 months which you've been thinking about and haven't made progress on, and outline the first baby step towards that. Like you said, for me, you were saying I was thinking about creating videos and getting too lost in the whole video production concept. I need to just strip it down and just get excited about the idea. What's the baby step out of it? If it's a blog, maybe it is identifying where you're going to post your blog. That's the first step. Maybe it's telling a person what they think about the topic of your blog. If you want to start a podcast, don't sit the idea on the shelf for 6 months because you can't think of the name. Just line up your first guest, do what Presence did, get your friend to record one with you. That's a podcast. That's your first episode. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Beyonce as your first guest. That is a podcast. Realize what's the first baby step of doing it. Realize, if you strip it back, what could be like the first iteration. So the MVP, minimum viable product. So for me, I want to do an online course, like an online course soon. I've realized that's just too much faff to do. I'm going to strip it back. I'm going to do a series of 10 videos on YouTube, unlisted, just my webcam, same value, same content. Just, I can actually go and do that tomorrow. I don't have to whatever. So strip it back. What's the first iteration? What are the baby steps you could do? And then accountability. So if you have this idea, whatever this could be, it could be joining a tennis club, whatever this thing is, tell one person about it. So, right, one idea. This is my challenge. It's detailed. Last 2 months, was one thing you've wanted to do which you haven't made a move on? Outline the steps for doing it. Outline how it can look if you stripped it back. Simple, and then tell someone about it. And then you should have it done, hopefully.
Yeah, and take action.
Take action. It starts with action.
Starts with action, everyone. But yeah, thank you. So it was really good to talk to you, and very nice chat. If people want to reach out to you, how can they find your YouTube channel and LinkedIn, and how can they find you?
Yeah, so on most busy on LinkedIn and YouTube. So on LinkedIn, just type in Joe Gannon. Hopefully I'll come up. My profile has lots of orange stuff on, so that's me. And then on YouTube, youtube.com/Joe Gannon. So that's about LinkedIn content, about social media strategy, content marketing, hoping to get people to create new stuff, just like you're encouraging. And also I'm going to start dabbling into productivity and personal development and all that good stuff. So
interesting. Are we follow? Yeah. Cool. Yep, everyone go and check out Joe and take action on his challenge. It is a really good one. And check out some productivity stuff and read the War of Art.
Yes. And
check out Behavioural Economics and all the other stuff.
All the other stuff.